Let's see if this will work. Does this work now? Okay, it does. Great. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness, was that ever stupid on my part. So, we're 7 minutes in. All right, well, I can start over and come back in if you guys want to do that. And then that way I don't have a video. Well, you know, I'll just go back and edit out the first 7 minutes of this video. Thank you, Carl, for telling me. Okay, so I'll start over at what my thoughts were. Hi, Susanna. And welcome aboard, Carl, as well. Ideas are really easy. And I would say that, you know, realizing that it might pick fights. And I would say that people will immediately have some kind of contradictory opinion where they think that what I just said is something that can be argued. And they're right. Everything can be argued. But I still stand on top of that hill and not so much to defend that position, but to reach my hand out and embrace and enjoy all the other people that want to stand on that hill as well. And which should be everybody, because the challenge that holds people up from their creative endeavors is not ideas. It's not possibilities. It's just having the temerity to sit down and to try something. And it doesn't matter how random or silly or out in the left field that idea might be. But they're trying something. And I would give more merit to people that would sit down and just swing the bat than I will to people that have all of the intentions in the world, but. Because we all do that. You know, we all say, I was going to become a rocket scientist, but, you know, I got an allergy to rockets. Well, that might legitimately keep you from being a rocket scientist if it requires you to be around rockets and work in some sort of other avenue related to it. Ideas are something that is just, it's everywhere that you can find them, and it's everywhere that you experience different things, which is the entirety of your day. You know, you have an idea when you wake up in the morning, you have an idea when you go to bed at night. And even if that idea is, I need to go to bed now. You know, so it's just a case of how do we have a measure of confidence, or how do we have a measure of allowance for ourselves to go, here we go, and we start. This image that's on the screen is the 48 panels that I did yesterday during the streams. And last night at 7 o'clock, I sat down and I started picking a couple of random panels. And I started doing today's one-page story, utilizing, you know, 6 of the images that are on this page of 48. And we did the 48 images by just typing in a random television show on a device and putting images on, and then just spinning the wheel of the images and randomly picking some and putting those down on the page. So that's what that is. And there's no contextual narrative from one image to the next. It's a complete hodgepodge. And it wasn't. And as I'm spinning through there, it stops just being about. You know, whatever the thing that I initially input to the search was, and you'll find things that have related words. Or so it's a spooky television show I started with, and I ended with a children's program. You know, and I'm just drawing all of these similar, all these images in a similar fashion, because at the end of the day, when I look back over the 48, I can't even tell you what some of the original images were on a great deal of those, because again, it's just interesting shots and compositions and ways of perceiving scenes and characters, and how characters move and have drama, and etc., etc., etc. But what these 48 panels represent are random ideas. And you can take these and do something with it. Susanna says, oh, 2 ideas a day. That's good. um, the two ideas example is really to show you that your start and your finish, your brain is still working. It just is. And so if you have something that starts and finishes the day, how many things do you have along the way? So maybe hopefully more than two, Susanna. So the 48 panels thing is, if you look at each one of these and you allow yourself, with your own level of experience, your own level of interests and hobbies and experiences and insights, of things that you've learned from along the way, you're going to look at these 48 panels and you're going to see different things in them than the person sitting directly beside you, and that person beside them, and that person beside them. And conversely, the same for everyone. So it's explorations like this where we start to talk ourselves out of it. This is the barriers period, right? This is where we set up the issues that we have with our self-confidence. I can't move forward because I'm not good enough. I can't move forward because I don't know how to. I can't draw. I don't know how to tell a story. My art isn't sophisticated enough, and the story is just gonna be a waste of people's time. My own insecurity, my lack of resources. There's a number of different barriers that are going to be set up along the way, and that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more that we allow those things to take place and to interfere with the actualization that we're pursuing, then we have to recognize that maybe this thing isn't meant to be. Which sounds so negative, right? And I don't believe that. I just don't. Time is the biggest one, and that's why I left it off the list, right? Time is that thing where, well, I don't have the time. Do you want to do the thing? Find a way to make some time. There's people that have said things, creative people that have said things like, writers write. As simple as that. If you're going to be a writer, get up and write. And which sounds great. Not everybody has a facility to get up and have access to some objective way to sit down and write. Some people are going to get up and immediately have to get back to shoveling coal because they were sleeping on the coal pile, and that's their whole. It's a big exaggeration, but you get the idea. There's always going to be challenges that present themselves to us for us finding the means for self-actualization. There just are. If you have family, you want to engage with your family. So if I take the time to do these things, is that going to cut into my family time? People can't answer that for you. That's stuff that you have to figure out how to answer for yourself. There's so many different factors that you have to figure out how to answer for yourself. But a lot of these fancy, big, successful, creative artists and writers is because of sacrifice. And unfortunately, a lot of that sacrifice comes from the world around them and accommodating that ambition and that goal. And it goes for anybody successful in major businesses and whatever else. It's there's a degree of accommodation necessary for those people to be what they are. It's just true. And you have to ask yourself how greedy the beast can be that you wanna feed for your own sense of accomplishment. So, but it does. That's the question about the big expanded idea of success. That's not necessarily what I really want to support and encourage, and that is confidence, and you having the confidence to allow yourself to listen to that little voice in the back of your head that's saying, I want to tell a story about a surfer who has water powers, and but I don't know how to draw water. Well, so all of those things that you can come up with, I don't know this, I can't do that, I haven't the facility for this. Those are the barriers that we're talking about. And so the simplest application for overcoming those is the sort of things that you want to look for. I don't know where to get ideas from. Try the panel thing. That's one approach. I don't know where to get ideas from. Write down whatever random things that you come across in your day that you think is interesting. I'm pretty sure either cats are telepathic or that my cat speaks a language that I don't, and that is a barrier to our communication. Maybe I should do a story about that. What do you think? Corbin's rubbing his face on the desk, so I think that's good. Again, I don't know. So the idea should just be whatever. It doesn't matter. This morning, before I went on to go and do the thing I need to do, I found out about Shibam. Shibam is a place in Yemen where 2,000 years ago they were building high-rises, because where they are is, back in the day, it was a place that was constantly attacked. And so because most city places would build themselves up on higher hills in order to be able to defend themselves to some extent, this place didn't have that. So they decided to build up. And they did so using what they had. And what they had was mud bricks. And they've managed to figure out engineering this far back that has got some of those places in Shibam are 11 stories tall. And they're made out of local mud brick that they produce there. They produce like something like 8,000 bricks a day. And it's a space. Shibam, the city, has somewhere, if I'm understanding correctly, like 89,000 people. And it's within the space of 3 New York high-rises. And it's all about, I think it might be 8,000, because that seems kind of ridiculous. But it's all about maximizing the amount of people in a limited amount of square foot. What a great idea! How can we do a story that has a place that looks like Shibam? And when you think about all those realities and ingesting some of that information, it makes my head go off on all kinds of different tangents, right? It could be about the ancient city of Shibam and its history. It could be about space colony that's set up on another planet where they have to do the exact same sort of building up of a colony city there because of allocation of space around them or whatever challenges. It's a million opportunities from one thing that you came across in the course of your day. Carl says, I think there's another sacrifice that need to make. Safety, sense of security, committing to move forward, holding the danger of exposure. Safety and a sense of security is it the exposure part of it? Moving forward despite the danger of exposure? Who cares about what the next person beside you thinks? If you're doing something that the end product of... So I'm on my 31st book. My first so many books are horrible. When I look at what I did there, and in comparison to how I approach things now, I look back and go, yeesh. But they're necessary. And and at the time when I did those, it was a different person that was doing those. And that person at that time, this was what they could put together. And they were pleased with what they did. And whether or not people around that person at the time accepted it or didn't accept it, the sense of I've done the thing that I wanted to do is what's more important than adulation. And so if exposure to others and your fallibilities and the potential of failure is going to hold people back, how do we get up and leave the house? How do you get up and how'd you learn to ride a bike if you can ride a bike? It's just, we're going to fail. Failure, in my opinion, is massively important. And the one thing that I always say to everybody is that you have absolutely no control on other people's value of what you do. You just don't, and you never will. One person across from you who might be very timid and shy, but really enjoys what you do, but just they don't even know if they can talk to you about it or even say, I read your thing and I really liked it. Or talk to you about, this and maybe inspires me to do my thing. And another person across from you might hate what you've done. They might look at it and go, for whatever reasons, I don't like this. If it's, you've got a lot to learn and you're at the start of the road and blah, 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 blah. Those two opinions, whether those are expressed or not, don't matter. If you're spending egregious amounts of money on producing materials and putting it out in the world, you have an expectation of economic reciprocation from that. And so that's a deep cut. That's a deep, intense way to go about putting out products that your entirety of existence is, for your first thing out the gate, and the entirety of your existence is depending on the success of something, you're going to fail. And I say that expecting that there's always people that are exceptions to a rule. Some people will put out their first thing and ba-bam! But there's a great deal of actualization, a great deal of things being done for this massive measure of success. As big as you can think it is, there's more and more work to be done to make it that. But the majority of things are going to go out, and you're going to, hey, if you can put out something that you can accommodate the cost of its production, then that enables you to be able to do another something that hopefully covers the cost of its production for you to continue doing those things. And if fortunate, then that allows you to maybe, have some gains to it. Maybe have, the second thing I could make more of, and it covered its cost. And the third thing, I made money, or if that's your motivation. And for a lot of people, it's a motivation. It's real. So don't worry about exposure, and don't worry about this sense of value, security, and safety, and how other people associate to what you do. Because I say this, my biggest fan I've never met, and my biggest fan is probably somebody living as remote as possible from where I am right now. And let's say Indonesia, in a very economically challenged place where they live a very limited life and have limited prospects, but a random piece of paper flits through the air and lands at somebody's feet, and they hold it up and go, this is the most transcendent thing that I've come across, and I love it. Will I ever meet that person? No, probably not. Will this ever really happen? I don't know. Whether it's yes or no, or in the grander multiverse theory of existence, it's going to happen somewhere. But it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Or, by scope of measure, if that piece of paper lands at the wrong person's feet and they read it and it's absolutely insulted the very existence of them and all that they believe, and it starts them on a crusade that wipes out our planet, I have no control over that either. And neither should I measure out my action by comparison to either one. So all you can do is figure out ways to start. Just start. Just make mistakes. Just, learn from that. Apply yourself in whatever way feels comfortable for you. Find simple means. Look out there. The interweb is massive, and it has all kinds of different people showing all kinds of different ways of self-educating, and so that you can develop and grow in your creativity. And but find whatever mechanisms are possible for you to do the thing that you want to do, and trust yourself, trust your intuition, your authenticity, trust the independent voice that you have, that the feline person beside you doesn't. This guy, right? Yeah. So just allow yourself to do the craziest notion that you come across, that you think of. People have done. In the 1980s, there's a comic that came out called Fish Police. And it was basically like a 1930s, 1940s private eye aesthetic, but fish at the bottom of the ocean. And they lived in how it was basically, Philip Marlowe stories, but starring fish. And it just happened to be underwater. But fun. Somebody would look at that and go, that sounds dumb, man. Don't listen to that person. Because somebody else out there goes, that's awesome. I love fish, And Jurassic Park, with musical numbers. Why not? Why not have T-Rex break into some Frank Sinatra? Why not do that as a story? It doesn't matter what it is. It's yours. And you can't go wrong with it. And so the other part of that is, if you see things that you love and you enjoy, I'd love to do that. Well, that's okay. Set yourself up objectively to tool yourself in such a way as that you could potentially possibly do that for whoever made that in the first place. There's nothing to say you can't do that. Or you look at that thing that you like so much and figure out what it is that you like so much about it, and then do your own iteration of that and make whatever changes you want. I want all the girl characters to be boy characters. I want all the boy characters to be, squishy aliens. Whatever. It doesn't matter, right? It's embrace the idea of things, but allow yourself to take your own input and to push that out, to make that more, to move that forward. So, but some of the things that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks about elements and principles in art design, and how to draw objects and things like that. These are all sort of basic things about visual expression. And I can't draw a stick person. Okay, well, why not? Right? If you got a stick, what do you think a person looks like? Or do your best rumination in the dirt and make some sort of symbolic representation of a person. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that as a visual production? If you're looking to sell that to people that buy North American mainstream superhero books, it's not going to be a success. But you've started. You've started by taking the stick in the dirt and made some sort of symbolic representation of what you think people are. There's a brilliant book, a brilliant comic, Long Shot Comics it's called, and I've shown it on a stream before. It's the history of the Napoleonic Wars, told through dots. Every panel is a dot, and there's text above, but there's text above the dot. Oh, what a beautiful day. And this little word balloon points down to a dot. And then next thing you know, in the next panel, another dot stands beside it and says, oh, you're up. You slept awfully late, and sorry about that, says the first dot. And come on down and have some breakfast is the next panel with the two dots in it. Sure, I'll be there in a moment. I just have to shave. That, as ridiculous as that sounds, and, they've got like 50, 60 panels on a page with all these little bits of text. And the joke, of course, is that if you take a magnifying glass to it and look really close at it, then the dots are absolutely gorgeous representations of Napoleonic soldiers and peasants and kings, and they're dots, right? But the whole point is this person had a story to get out, and they didn't think they had the facility for the visual, so they eliminated that barrier and did it as dots, and told the story that they wanted to tell. And it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's good fun. And I've read it a number of times over the years. It's such a random thing, Douglas Adams writing Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and having all these little insertions of random ideas about, sunglasses, where anytime you're in danger, they pick up on your thoughts and they immediately go black, with the theory that if you're afraid of danger, you can't see it anyway, so why worry about it? Which is grossly impractical, unless you come across the bug bladder slatter beast of Trog that only attacks things that it thinks can see it. And so if you're wearing blackout glasses, it'll look at you and just see black lines or black rectangles and go and leave you alone. So where does that come from? That's somebody who has these random thoughts and ideas and writes them down. And the absurdity of it all is fantastic. But, Handmaid's Tale, is a person having some ideas about something in the world that they live in, and they want to express those, by really looking at it in a far more solid way, where they're going to say, if this is the future, then this is the way that I think society will respond to it. Is that Atwood? I think it's Margaret Atwood wrote those, The Handmaid's Tale. And it's been adapted numerous times because it speaks to other people's viewpoint on it. And there's been a number of different times where people have tried to show representations of that. This was an idea a person had and started writing about. I want to get better at writing, then write. I want to get better at drawing, then draw. I want to get better at coloring, color. And because the subjectiveness of the outcome is based entirely on the amount of input that you do in the execution. You're not going to have a beautifully colored book that they've drawn in black and white unless you sit down and color it. So you've executed a black and white book. Well, I can't do the lettering with my handwriting's terrible. Then figure out a way to do it digitally, or have somebody else put letters to your pages. I want this to be in color. Well, if economics or whatever else is holding you back from coloring, photocopy it and color it. And, okay, that looks terrible, but I like this part of it. Then take another photocopier and lean into that part that you did enjoy. And, those mistakes, this part I wasn't a fan of. Photocopy it again and apply it again. So you're learning from these mistakes, and you're only going to get better as you go along. Because the idea of being in the same position and learning nothing over the course of a journey, I think you have to go out of your way for that. I think that you have to allow the barriers. I think you have to subjectively say, I accept that this is it. And that's it's not doing anything for you. Just believe in yourself, right? Draw the things you like. Write about the things you like. Draw the things you hate. Write about the things you hate, right? Alan Moore, who wrote Watchmen, V for Vendetta, From Hell, Alan Moore said you, as a writer, can express your moral assessment of the world, your ethical understanding of things, your political viewpoint. You're writing this, you can express whatever you like in there. If the reader doesn't agree, it's not the reader for your book. Or if they don't agree, and some of the expressed ideas help them to expand on the way that they're approaching and thinking of things, and think, well, I can see some value to the insights expressed in this writing, then maybe that expands their worldview, and they were your reader. Or, somebody just eats it up because they have exactly the same viewpoint as you. It doesn't affect you writing the book unless your next book is incumbent upon the sales of the previous one. And if you're going to change the way that you produce material in order to account for and accommodate a marketplace, there's a limitation that you're setting on yourself to do that. And there's a great deal of people that want to do, let's say Batman, because the comic company that produces Batman has numerous titles featuring this one ridiculous character. there's all of these people that want to do that. Well, there's only so many people that can do that on a regular, consistent basis and be employed by this company to be able to put out these materials for others to consume, including the people that love their Batman. So your competition field is very fierce that for you to get to the point where you're able to do it. And if you're going to base a measure of success for yourself on the objective goal of just drawing Batman, then you're in for great amounts of disappointment along the way. Because you got to do something in order for them to go, okay, you can do Batman. And there's other alternatives to that. There's Moon Knight for Marvel Comics. Moon Knight is Marvel's iteration of a Batman type. It just is. But they, over the time of this character, the process of this character's existence in this company, they've leaned into some of the less than psychologically balanced factors in Batman. I always describe Batman as a fetishistic fascist. He's got his whole bat thing going on. For whatever reasons he does. His dresses up in leather with a bat theme and goes out and fights. It's a carbide alloy protective suit. I don't care. But he goes out and he expresses his objective truth of how he thinks this city and reality and justice should be, and he puts it out on other people. And affects the entire environment around him by doing so. So, Mark Millar did Nemesis, right? Marvel Comics did Moon Knight, and then eventually you realize that Moon Knight has multiple personalities, and has a lot of coping mechanisms for his existence in the world, and a lot of his behaviors are because of his experiences in the world. So that character, well, it is very closely associated visually with Batman, just like Nemesis is. They embrace that interpretation of embraces the instability of that type of character. Nemesis embraces the negative aspects of that type of character, and that a Batman type like that would not be a good guy, from that perspective. And so you've got different versions that people do of the things that they enjoy, and explore the things about those characters that they like so much, and expand upon them. And very, very few opportunities come up for people to be able to do that, for the company, the purveyor of that material. And you've got to find workarounds. There's a thing about looking at, if you want to get into comics specifically, and it's something that I do on a daily basis, so I tend to lean into that. But if you want to get into sequential storytelling or whatever field, video game design, figure out what you got to do for that. Realize that the more that you isolate a field of specific jobs, the more that you isolate your competition and realize, how many people you're competing with to do this thing. I want to get into making animated films. There's a great deal of things that go into that, and a great deal of things that need to be applied in order to make animated films. But you have massive success stories like Bill Plympton, Ralph Bakshi, and Jim Lujan, a good friend of the stream here, who make their own films. They make films, and they do so without it having to be entirely dependent upon the approval of a studio and the ideology of the studio. So there's things that can be done. There's hurdles that can be overcome. There's workarounds that you can do, the things that you want to do, and it really comes down to allowing yourself to have the confidence to engage in the thing that you're interested in doing. And it sounds, when you hear that, it sounds like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right, I guess. Whereas I think the response to that should be grab whatever the closest mark making thing is that you have near you and a surface that you can write on without getting in trouble. And make some marks upon that surface with the writing tool, the drawing tool. And you've started. It's not a case of have the confidence go, I will have the confidence. Once I get positioned with the right allocation of time in the most specific place that I need to work on and have all the materials around me that I need exactly before I pick up a mark-making tool and put it down on a surface. Which one's going to get you towards your goals faster? And whatever those goals may be. I'm on my way to 700 pages in the last 2 years based on suggestions that have come from other people. Random notions, a line of dialogue, 3 words, a crazy idea that they had that, that I put all these things through this grist mill here, this wood chipper of a brain of mine, and I create 1-page stories every day. And I post them on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon. And on Patreon, I also show the original art, and so you can see here's the end result, here's the start result. And I do so from, here's the idea, here's the 3 words, here's the dialogue, here's the whatever, or the line of dialogue. I don't want to, you want to write a script, you want to hire somebody. But what I'm going to do is not going to be what they thought of. It's just not, or what I'm going to produce, they would have done X, Y, or Z differently, because they've just said a random statement and I've run with it. No different than I would run with any of these existing panels that you see on the screen right now, any of these 48 panels, and I would run with each of those as an idea. And whatever that idea, I look at that image and I get an idea of, oh, there's 3 dudes standing. What are they talking about? Don't look for 3 dudes standing. I made that up. So the ideas are just out there. And as much as I appreciate the sharing of those ideas, me producing 1-page stories daily isn't incumbent on getting suggestions. Although, I appreciate all the ones that do come in, and I got a number of them written down in the book that I'm still trying to get to do. And but ideas are everywhere. It's just about allowing yourself to chase them down, grab them by the horns, and draw the worst iteration of that idea by comparison to wherever you want to be by what you can do today. But there's people that you can look at, and if you want to get into comics, I have a list today that I'm just going to put up on screen, and if people want to write it down, they can write it down. This is a list of creators, okay, that I would suggest look at these people's work. Because if you really want to learn to tell stories, if you really want to see how some people's approach to storytelling has its measure of success, and it has an awful lot of the foundational things that one requires for storytelling. And you'll notice that a lot of these names are old dudes, and many of them are passed away. Yep. I would also put numerous names on this as well, like the people that are very near and dear to me, which is like Winsor McCay. But this is just a simple list. Now, we talked about Wally Wood. I've talked about Alex Toth in the past. I've used Stuart Immonen's artwork to reference how he is still utilizing 22 panels that always work. He's clearly understood that lesson and incorporated it to some extent in his own work, but in a very different, far more dynamic kind of a way. And, a lot of these names go without saying, but some of these names will be brand new to people. So I thought I'd leave that up on the screen and say, hey, go take a look at these things. And at the same time, as I'll leave this up, this is these practices of doodling panels. Let's see what I got. Here's some more. Okay. scary monster panels. And then here's some more random geometric shapes that make up what could be whatever kinds of images that we want. Hey, there's 3 people talking. And so, but our imagination can take something like this, these, cylindrical objects lined up to one another, and can make hibernetic, or what is it called? I guess it's hibernetic sleeping chambers for you to be on a spaceship and travel grand distances, like in Aliens. It's about where your imagination can take things. Look at things that you enjoy and doodle them. Find that shapes, the body shapes of the people that are on these images that you like so much. Find a cool looking approach to telling a story. Putting the way a person's face is in this explosion. I don't know where this came from. I really don't know where most of the things come from that I'm scribbling in here. Here's a person on fire. I don't know, singing opera. Who cares? And just draw. Like, there's a random idea. Is that plane going backwards? What? It's just what it is. It's allowing yourself to grow and explore, and to here's a random astronaut. There's wolves, right? And what can you do with these things? Like, what can you make of this guy sitting on this, I don't know, dome? And, hi, buddy. And he has all these heads talking at him. This one's a frog. This one's a horse. Right? What does that mean? I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's just allowing yourself to go, to explore and to express. And here's some more of those page layout type thumbnails, and here's just a whole bunch of people. I believe this is people that were walking along the beach on a cool day where my wife and I were sitting on the beach after having gone for a walk ourselves, and this is people going by. And it's just the shapes of them. Whatever it is, whatever you're learning from, whatever you're exploring, however you're allowing yourself to engage in the opportunity to find the ability to convey stories. While it might not seem like it's producing a result, it is producing a result. It's producing an expansion of yourself and your interest and how you can go about telling stories. So there's that. Oftentimes on the stream here, I will pull out books and I will show examples of things. Like, I believe I pulled out Tommy Lee Edwards to show color holds and how you can change the line art in your background of your drawing to be a different color than the line art in the foreground. Like, say it's a light blue for the lines and everything in the background, and black on the line art around the character in the foreground. It really makes that character in the foreground jump forward and diffuses the back and pushes it back. And I showed Tommy Lee Edwards' work in order to explain that. So I'll do that a lot here. Is that I'll show you that these things can be done, right? But I'll write this down. I've written this down, and I'll put this here as well. Okay. Now this is approach. Draw the things you like. Write the things you like. If you want to do it as a collage, if you want to, do it as a dimensional sculpture thing and take pictures, if you want to cut out pictures, like that's the collage part, cut things out of books and stick them down, and you open up a fashion magazine and, just cut out similar looking people in the fashion magazine and say that's your main character. And if their image of them alters a little bit over the course of it because it's different people that you might have to use, who cares? Who cares? The reality is that you're finding some sort of means to visualize the thing that you're trying to take here and put out there. Use stick figures, use dots, right? You can use stickers, you can, different digital applications. You can Film means you can take pictures of it, have your friends act it out, your story idea, or actually shoot it as a little film, you know. Do animations, learn about animatics and animation, do those. If you don't have a story, find a story you like and adapt it. That might work. Pick out the points of interest that you want to convey your story through the way you would do it. Right? Believe in yourself and that you'll improve. That's a biggie. You know, if exercises like just flipping through and drawing little thumbnails of whatever random images that you're seeing on your phone or your tablet or whatever your thing is, or open up a book and look at the images in a book, draw the advertisements, draw, you know, here's a person in a 1950s book going, I don't know if this is the tobacco, pipe tobacco that I want to purchase. Are you looking for a good pipe tobacco? It's so dumb. But this here, okay, can be retooled into something about somebody, you know, debating on the creation of government and a nation. Or, what's my favorite ingredients on a pizza? It's whatever application that you put to something. So doing things like this, from whatever their source is, allows you to do all kinds of stuff. This lady can have her hands on her hips because she's really upset that her hair's on fire. You know, or she can be unhappy with the bouffant hairdo that she has because she feels like she looks like the lady from The Simpsons. It doesn't matter. Or she's standing here looking all fierce because, you know, of her mad hairdo. I don't know what it is, but the same simple image has a million different applications for a million different people. But explore, find your thing, explore that, and do it. If anybody has any thoughts or questions about it, feel free, as always, to put it in the comments for the video or on any of the other social media posts. And the same thing goes for suggestions too. You'd be surprised what you can do with that. So I've got a piece of paper here. Okay. Now we're going to take this random panel because it's so, well, very random. And I'm going to. There we go. I got a pen. I got a little marker here. I'm going to put this down, okay, on the page in front of you. And so we've got this person's face, okay, and then there's their schnoz, and here's their mouth. We go a little bit into their lip. There's their chin, and here's their face in this sort of environment, wherever they are. And then behind them is Telly Savalas. I don't know, it's a bald person, but big ears and a bit of their shoulder line. Okay? So this is the whole image. All right? That's it. And so this is where I'm talking about using these 48 things. And if your hang up is, well, I don't want to use somebody else. No, enough. Just use them. That doesn't matter, because you're going to do something completely different than everybody else is going to do with those types of things. I'd love to see what you do with it, by the way, though, just for my own interest's sake. So I'm going to darken out the area in behind, okay, as it is in this original little image there. Now, let's think about applications of this, okay? This can be a soap opera. All right. If I've left these up on the screen, you can go back and pause the screen. So this can be a soap opera, and what I mean by this can be a soap opera is you can have the first character in a panel. So here's a reinterpretation of the panel. There's the person there, big ears, shoulder line, and then here's the face, and there we go. There's the eye. There's the forehead. Dabba-dabba-doo, right? And this person says, you know, what are you saying, Margaret? Let's say Margit. Ooh, French. And then she says, I just don't like tapioca. what is that about? What am I talking about? Doesn't matter. It's just looking at this contextual image and thinking of something random to come out of it. What do you say, Marguerite? I just don't like tapioca. What do you? Are you serious right now? You know, like there's a whole story that spins out of this. How does he react to that statement? And you know, you can also do the same thing with the same two characters, where this person here, you know, he's saying, hello, darkness. And then this person over here says, Uncle Ben, because they don't know the lyrics to the song. So, and then you know, the remainder of this narrative, this story that you're going to come up with from this panel is Uncle Ben. That's not how it goes, right? But just looking at an image, you're going to have an idea from just looking at this image that I'm not going to have, and you know, it's like, and you can be, it doesn't always have to be as goofy as I am, right? Like it can be something as simple as when I say soap opera, right? And he says, you can't mean ... and she says, yes, I'm taking the kids and moving to San Diego. So there's a very different dramata to this story from the tapioca story, from the wrong song lyric story, and moving to San Diego. How do you spell Diego? It's probably wrong. But it's there. Here's another one. You know, everything is ready, Your Majesty. You know, and then I guess this is some sort of royal in the foreground, since it's been called Your Majesty, and the royal says, you know, some sort of, do everything we can to protect our people. Again, completely different vibe. Do all we can. Protect our people. What do you mean, our people? Anyways, so you can take the same image, which you know is just one random tiny thing in a big scope of selection to choose from, but you can take the same image and interpret that image a million different ways. And this is the underlying thing that I think I'm trying to get across to people today. Ideas are really easy. Execution of them is hard. Doing something with them is hard, because you have to just allow yourself to stop for a second. Try and try again. Allow yourself to put down something completely inane, and somebody looks and goes, that's just a stupid story. But then the next one, I do the wrong song lyrics when they go, okay, I can see that one. But that another person says, no, that's stupid as well. And then I do that, I'm taking the kids and moving to San Diego, and they love that. There's, if my approach in producing something is entirely contingent upon someone else's acceptance of it, I'm never gonna produce anything. And whether or not you produce something today with some expectation that you're going to look back on it 20 years ago, best thing I ever did. That's not going to happen, because the person 20 years from now that looks back on it has gone through a whole bunch of different things. It's a different person than you are today. And so they're going to look at it and go, I did that, you know, or I remember that. That's, you know, fun nostalgia or whatever it is. Or I look at that and I see all the things that I would have done differently, or whatever it is. The point is that the assessment of it is going to be different than the assessment of it today. The success of it is going to be measured differently than the success of it today. And what counts is now. What counts is allowing yourself to just tap into whatever whatever random idea comes out, and what you do with it. I gotta go. And then the other person says, here's their face again, right? Yeah. And then they say, yeah, go take a bath. Yuck, yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. So, they're very different ways to allow these ideas to spill out. And if the entire book, okay, if I do an entire book of X amount of pages and it's all just the same panel with different story ideas written down for it, in my mind, that's a successful book. And the reason I say that is, however many different iterations you have of what this scene can represent, of what these two characters and their interaction might actually be, however many ways that you go about doing that is just sort of, it's indicative of allowing your imagination to go, to flow, to dive out there. Robert Greene, I've talked about this before. Robert Greene, brilliant writer and thinker today. He suggests that highly creative productivity is based on two things. One, being able to capitalize on all of the things that you've ingested mentally, physically, you know what I mean? All the things that you've come across in your life and those experiences that you've come across in your life. And, being able to draw upon those things and then utilize those, figure out some means of expressing them. Highly creative people manage to lock in those two factors together and do so in a way where they don't have to belabor themselves with having to sit in a certain desk in a certain corner with a certain kind of light at a certain time of night, and they allow themselves to be able to do something with that by just a moment's notice, even if it's having a little sketchbook in your pocket and you scribble down some of these ridiculous little things, and the possible outcome of that, and what that can help you to develop is those mechanisms in place for you to be able to actualize all your ambitions. And because you've allowed yourself to train yourself for those associations, those neuronic connections in your brain. If our brain, here's the thing, if we tell ourselves we can't do something or we set barriers up for ourselves, our brains are very lazy. And what I mean by that is neurosynaptic connections in your head say, what's the easiest, most trained path we have? And if every time I figure out a way to talk myself out of something, worrying about what others think or anything like that, then my brain is automatically going to go, all right, it's not going to work out anyways, guys. Whereas if I can just figure out how to get mark-making tool onto a surface of some kind and make some kind of scribbles. I have a fella I've known for 30 some odd years, and he does this, and he just does all of these little scribble actualizations, and what they mean, I don't know. He's been doing it for years, and he's like, I want to draw cartoons or comic books or something. I'm like, you're doing it. Yeah, but I mean, like, no, you're doing it now. It's just allow yourself to recognize that you're already actively doing it. And whatever means you're doing it. If you want to develop this into something else that you would recognize more readily as being the thing you want to do, realize you've already started on the path and go. And so yeah, the execution of things is hard. And nothing comes to you immediately. I think it was Malcolm Gladwell that wrote, in order for somebody to master something, you have to spend 10,000 hours at it or something like that. I think it was Gladwell. I can't remember. I just had saw an interesting TED Talk of Malcolm Gladwell talking about journalism and it's the responsibility that journalists should be upholding. Very interesting. Anyhow, but you've already started the process just with this, and if that gets you through today, and then tomorrow you start figuring out, I'm going to put a head and hands and feet on my. Oh, now he looks like a little more like a person to me. Super. You can tell a story with a dog. So that's it. That's me blathering on today. I've got to post the one-page story from yesterday. I've got the one-page story that I'll be doing tonight. Let's find the book. Where is the book? Oh, it's all the way over there. Corbin, get the book for me. This cat, lazy. So today's thing that I'm finishing off to post is do a comic based on cheeky crank calls, and that came from Marshall Lee. Thank you, Marsh, for that. I did that. It's got a check mark on it. This, and then for Monday, I'll be posting this for Monday, and that is gel print, telegraph, and writing. Gel print, telegraph, writing. That's my suggestion for Monday. 3 words. Well, 4 words. Gel print, telegraph, writing. Very different than a comic based on cheeky crank calls. So, ideas are easy. Doing something with them is the part that's going to challenge you. But doing something with them, that's what we need to do in order to convey your ideas, right? In order for you to express an idea to the person across from you, you might speak it. You might sign it. Okay? You might write it down. But none of those things are going to happen unless you start to speak, you learn sign language, or you pick up a pen. Okay, that's it for me, folks. Thanks, everybody, for coming and hanging out. It's good to see everybody, and I hope that you're applying yourself to whatever your creative journey is. But I look forward to seeing what people are doing. You're all more than welcome to send me stuff and say, hey, here's my story about the history of macaroni. Right? And somebody says, oh, well, I've got a history of rice-a-roni. The San Francisco trip. Anyways. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye for now. Go draw something. Have some fun. Share it with others. There's somebody out there that desperately wants to see what you're doing. I'm telling you. Bye for now.